I am going to go ahead now and call the Willits City Council meeting, regular meeting of August 11th to order at 6:31. And we will now have the Pledge of Allegiance followed by roll call, and I would ask Kathy to do those.
Yes.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Councilmembers Gonzalez.
Present.
Tawny.
Yes.
Stransky.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mayor Strong.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So our first item on the agenda after that is public communications, and we welcome any people from the public who would like to address the City Council on any matter. These are for items that are not on the posted agenda, because wait for those items to comment on those. But any other item that is within the city's jurisdiction, and we're generally limited to 3 minutes for those comments. Is there anyone in the public who would like to address the City Council at this time? Not seeing or hearing any. I also should have mentioned just at the beginning that we're continuing to meet by teleconference because of the situation with the variant on the coronavirus, and pursuant to the exemption of the Brown Act requirement that we would normally have to meet in person, and we were disappointed. We were hoping, we were ready to open back up to in-person meetings, but the variant has thrown us for a loop, and kind of a surge going on. So in the act of caution, we thought it's better to play it safe. So for the time being, we're going to continue to do teleconference. So we are now at item 3, public matters, and we're very happy to welcome a couple of staff people from the Economic Development and Financing Corporation, EDFC. And I think I'll just turn it straight over to them to explain who they are and what they do and why that's relevant to the city of Willits, and then we can talk to them after their presentation. So Debbie, would you like to start?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. I'm Debbie Racer. I'm the development manager at EDFC, and I'm joined this evening by our lending manager, Robert Garner. And Kathy has a presentation that she can go ahead and pull up. I'll start with a brief overview of our organization, and then Robert can dive into some of the financial details. So go ahead and there we go. I like to start with this. Our mission is to connect money and ideas with entrepreneurs and create sustainable prosperity in Mendocino, Lake, and Sonoma counties. The vision, we envision a vibrant local economy providing abundant opportunity and rewarding quality of life to the communities we serve and future generations. And, you know, the COVID pandemic has really created an interesting bunch of opportunities for us right now. You know, as you know, the economy struggles to, you know, get through this. Our mission has become all the more important that we're supporting the business owners in this community, and, you know, to help ensure that the quality of life that we have in Mendocino continues to be strong and to grow in a way that we'd like to see it, where, you know, people who were born and raised here can stay here and raise their families. And a little bit down. So EDFC was created in 1994, and we are the economic development function for the county of Mendocino, as well as these 4 different municipalities. So Fort Bragg, Point Arena, Ukiah, and Willits. So we're involved in a lot of the different projects that are going on. I'm currently involved with The acronym is SMED, but it's a cooperative effort between Mendocino and Sonoma County to identify projects that overlap, where we have, mutual problems, so to speak, and we're coming together to create something called a SEDS, which is a comprehensive economic development strategy. And in writing up this document, it's actually going to position us and Sonoma County for funding opportunities in the next few years. One of which is particularly outlined as upgrading broadband. There's a lot of areas in Willits that are, farther outside the city limits, where they call it middle mile and last mile connectivity. So that's one of the projects that's being discussed. And we are a nonprofit foundation. So Robert and I are here tonight. We also have Robin Peckham, who's our administrative manager and does a lot with our accounting and finance. We also have 16 board members. So 2 of the county supervisors, Maureen Mulhern, Ted Williams, city council members, Madge, of course, is here tonight, Tess Alvin Smith from Fort Bragg, the deputy city manager, Shannon Riley with Ukiah, and then the rest of our board is made up of business owners, a lot of financial services folks, and of course a representative from the Pomo tribe. So we really have a lot of different perspectives that are represented on our board, which is really important that we consider all the different factors in such a diverse region that we live in. So we want to make sure that we're serving all the folks that need our help in the area. So Robert can start us off, but I'd like to point out that we have just over $3.5 million currently circulating out in the economy in the form of loans, with only a 1.5% default rate, which I attribute to Robert's outstanding job of vetting all of our loan applicants thoroughly, and also the relationships that he develops with our borrowers that, if something comes up, they're comfortable reaching out to him and explaining what kind of obstacles they have. And he's great about coming alongside of them to figure out a mutually beneficial solution. And also when he reaches out to them, if a payment's late or anything like that, they're not dodging his calls. They see him as a partner with their business. So with that, I'll turn it over to Robert.
Awesome. Thanks, Debbie. And thank you, Willits City Council members, for having us tonight. Really the short and quick after that explanation so nicely done is I like to show the geographic breakdown of where all our funding's going, because it really helps represent what we're doing in Lake and Mendocino counties right now and how much it's changed over the past couple of years. You can really see some representation clearly that the larger city, Ukiah and Fort Bragg, are bigger pieces of the pie, but we have representation from almost every place we can possibly have it in Lake and Mendocino counties, and we've been doing a really good job the past couple of years of diversifying and touching all the geographic locations. So we're making strides in fulfilling the mission and keeping our word when we tell these different places that we're really working with their businesses. It's hard to tell somebody that if you don't have a loan or you're not working with their businesses. So this really kind of encompasses that, and I'm really happy with how it's starting to take shape and take form over the last couple of years. We can go to the next slide if you'd like. And then just some quick numbers and highlights, not to put everybody to sleep, but in 2021 or 2020-21 fiscal year, we closed loans for $1.2 million. We approved an additional $130,000 worth of loans that just couldn't be closed due to something before the end of the fiscal year. But our total lending for that fiscal year was $1.34 million, and it was a 16% increase over prior year, which prior year was a historical benchmark at 1.1 million. So we went above and beyond our benchmark year with another one. So I can't complain about having a little bit of momentum and really helping businesses in our communities. We had a total of 52 inquiries throughout the year, which resulted in 22 applications and 13 approved loans. And in those approved loans, we helped retain or create a total of 52 and a half jobs, full-time equivalent. So it's really it's been a steady climb up, and I'm really pleased with the results for the year. Next slide. During this year, there was some question from our county about how EDFC is truly impacting the county as a whole and their viability, sort of a return on investment. I think it's perfectly reasonable that when jurisdictions or municipalities are investing dollars, that they know their dollars are being well used. So they hired an economic professional to study EDFC, and just the focus of the study was return on investment via the business revenues and jobs and state and local tax revenues brought in by the loans that we do. So some of the highlights from that, it's quite a long document, so we just pulled and plugged instead of bored you entirely to a sleeping state. Was that EDFC has all the pieces in place to continue following best practices. We're well capitalized, which is really important in considering our net assets. It's something in banking that really they pay attention to make sure we're not out over our skis or there's too much risk in the loans that we're doing as opposed to what we can recover and still continue to lend. And lastly, it said when EDFC lends money in Mendocino County, it has a larger economic impact than just that of the borrowing business. So it was a really good, it turned out to be very informational for us internally, and just became more of an example for the things we are doing are making an impact. It kind of reinvigorated staff members and board members to say, look, we're doing good work here, and we're proud of it. So next slide. This is just a infographic from that study. Kind of shows how the dollars turn into greater dollars once there's an initial lending amount, and there's direct and indirect effects of that money, and it turns into a total greater than the initial amount that was lended. So you can see from 2015 to 2020 how that impact's being made, and a substantial increase over those years of jobs created and retained. This does only account for Mendocino County, since the county hired that economic professional to do just a study on those numbers, so it's not accounting for Lake County in these infographics.
So, Robert, is that the difference there for the 2020 year between the 1.1 million? Is that because some of the loans are not in Mendocino County, or is there some other reason? They deducted the loan amounts that we did in Lake County, so that was all separated and kept out of this study particularly. So it's a little short for our actual numbers, but still gives you kind of an idea of when we loan $393,000 in a year, the total impact is about $615,000 in money brought in through other vehicles, the business doing business, taxes, and everything else that's involved in the money that's lent directly to the business. So it just kind of gives you a better snapshot of how
how it works once the money goes out the door, what really happens. So, next slide. And then this is just a quick snapshot of the jobs that have been created or retained over the last 5 years. The yellow, or the, I don't know, gold color, I'm colorblind, so I'll call it yellow, and then really look not incapable of doing my job. So, yeah, the yellow is created and the black's the retained, so you can see how there's been a steady trend since 2017 up, and hopefully we'll just keep continuing that upward trend and keep creating jobs in the county. Next slide. And then I always like to throw in a fun little loan client highlight section so we can brag about some of the people that we've helped out in the past. Some of these are kind of past, present, future type deals. Rainbow Ag goes way back to the late 90s, and Seaton Trucking is a Willits business that just happened about 60 days ago. So it's really fun to see how things progress over time, and I know we all think sometimes that timber business is going the wrong direction, but we got people out there ready to haul logs, and we're helping them get trucks and keep those generational businesses alive in our communities. Next slide. And then some of the other quick highlights that we had during the year. Pandemic response, we were really collaborative in the Mask Up Mendo program. We helped acquire 200,000 masks and about 1,700 gallons of hand sanitizer to be distributed to everywhere humanly possible, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without the help of the chambers, Katrina and Ron, and all the other people who were so instrumental in helping us connect to all the stretches of our vast geographic area. It was a big undertaking, but we had a really solid team, and it was absolutely awesome to work with everybody to put together something like this. We did set in for 3 rounds of business resiliency grants that were given out last year, and reviewed those grants and helped businesses get back on their feet, get back started, or change of business model, get up to date with websites and fun things like that. We've done 4 rounds of technical assistance with the California relief grants, where we are kind of the frontline phone call takers for anybody in the state of California, frankly, with questions on their applications with relief grants. We're one of, I believe, 50 organizations assisting Lendistry, the main funding source of those relief grants. So we've been involved in assisting people get their hands on that money, especially in our counties, but also I'll take a phone call from Southern California if a business needs help, just to help them get back stable and financially solid after this pandemic. And then towards the end of the year, just before Christmas time, we had to implement, or we assisted in implementing $1.2 million in Lake County CARES grants to all the small businesses. We did that in about 6 weeks. So it was a mad dash to be done before the end of the calendar year, and we succeeded and got Christmas Eve off, so we were all happy. And down at the bottom, the loan funds, we did receive $500, or $500, that's not enough, $500,000 in CARES Act funding to help do revolving loan fund, refill our revolving loan fund, as well as CDFI awarded us $1.3 million within the last 30 days to continue lending in our area. And we also have an outstanding grant application for another $700,000, and we should be finding out about that within the next 30 or 45 days. So we're doing a really good job of getting money out, and we're working hard to refill what we have that's already gone out, so we can keep doing what we do. which is helping these small businesses out. Next slide. I think we're on the home stretch, everybody. Really excited. I just wanted to throw this in here. We've been working closely with Dusty in the city offices to help implement this CDBG funding for small businesses. I think they're probably really close to getting everything ready to start dispersing this, but we will be able to help out small businesses directly within city limits of Willits to get what they need at really good interest rates, really flexible terms. So we're really excited to help reinvigorate the small businesses in the city limits of Willits, and we're proud to partner with the city as well. So next slide. There's our quick graphic on the funding. I kind of touched on that, the 1.3 million. So our hope is that some of the businesses who need this funding and will be involved in the CDBG program might supersede what the city is able to do. We're really excited to be able to have this 1.3 million to meet them in the middle, and maybe collectively with the city provide a whole for what the business clients would need that'll get them back going. Next one. And this was just a quick one, and we already kind of covered it. This gives more of the particulars. We're going to focus on business or job creation and retention with the CDBG funding. We're really going to pay attention to the micro enterprise and small business owners. And according to my notes, we expect an average award of somewhere around $35,000 with a maximum of 70. Dusty, don't kill me if I'm wrong. I think I wrote it down right. And terms will be flexible, like I said. Typical interest rate would be 2%, and there's some forgiveness aspects in there that we don't want to really promote as the selling point, but there will be some ways to have some of these funds forgiven if the business keeps those jobs that they're talking about having in the initial application. So it'll be a really good feature for the businesses, but we definitely want them to be qualified and sustainable businesses from the application onset. So I think last slide. Oh, we're working on EDA funding as there's more money than we've ever seen offered by the federal government right now, and so we're really trying to identify projects and assist every aspect that we can. So we're looking at tourism projects to help revitalize tourism. We know it's been hit really hard in our area especially, and working closely with West and the chambers and Visit Mendocino, anybody we can group up with, collaborate with to help sustain a better bounce back for the tourism industry that we so rely on heavily will be something we're involved in. So we're working on identifying and then submitting an application for that funding. And now I'm pretty sure that's it. If that bar scrolls down, yep, we are right there. Thank you, everybody. If we have any questions, me and Debbie would love to answer anything for you guys. And if not, thank you so much for allowing us to fill you in on what we've done over the last year.
Thank you, Robert and Debbie, both. That was very helpful. I have one question, and that is, I get periodic notices from West Company, which is called something else, West Business Development. Anyway, and I was wondering, can you just outline kind of where the two, you and West Company, how you divvy up the turf and make sure that there's not too much spinning of wheels? Because I think they offer grants too.
Yeah, so the business owner has a potential business idea. They typically will visit West first for some technical assistance in getting a business plan together, doing some viability studies, and West is really good with doing that preparation work. And then once they feel like they're prepared, we work closely with the advisors, and they've identified a need for funding, and the advisors hand them off to EDFC for the funding, and we prepare the application and the loan proposal, get them funding, and oftentimes send them back, or at that point they're both our clients, and we're both invested in taking care of them, so they'll have kind of coordinated conference calls or something like that with myself and one of the advisors at West, or one or the other, so that we're constantly checking in and making sure that as the business matures and hits those roadblocks along the way, that they have somebody there who can take a phone call, assist them, and help them through to the next level, or grow and expand as they need to.
And that applies to all of these new
Absolutely.
federal monies that are coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So, any other, council members' questions and comments? Jerry, go ahead.
Robert, I'm on the West Board, and Mary Ann talks very highly of EDFC, and it's just a partnership.
Oh, thank you. I love working with Mary Ann, and we've really forged a really good, I think, really good bond, a really good foundation. And I don't know if historically it was always like that, but I have always come in dead set to say that, there's no reason it shouldn't be good, and we shouldn't work really well together, so let's do it right.
So actually, I had a question. I saw in your materials the lending to Lake County. Was that what you had talked about, the federal money dispersed? So it's not like they're part of our group per se?
So in EDFC's bylaws and coverage area, Lake County is certainly part of what we do. So I can lend directly to any Lake County businesses. It's part of our geographic territory, but when the county paid for a study to be done just on Mendocino County, they weren't as concerned with our activity in Lake County. So we kind of separated out, so depending on where we're giving a presentation or highlighting certain things, we can make a clear designation between this is our activity in Mendocino County, this is our activity in Lake County. So it's part of our service area.
The county governments, I mean, or the mayor.
Yeah, absolutely. And we work closely with Jeff Lucas and CDS, who is out of Kelseyville, and he works closely with all the cities and counties. We have multiple meetings throughout the year just to update and make sure we're all on the same page, because lenders get a little temperamental about stepping on their geographic territory, and we don't want to make anybody mad, that's for sure.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Other questions from council members? Greta.
Hi, Robert and Debbie. I just wanted to thank you particularly for the Mask Up Mendo program. My small bookstore here in Willits has received so many boxes of masks from the chamber, and we've been going through them. So to be able to give them to customers and allow them to browse longer in the store because they're staying masked up has been very valuable to us, and we really appreciate the program. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Other council member? Questions or comments? Anybody from the public would like to comment or ask a question? Or staff members? I don't see any or hear any. I thought that was an excellent presentation, and that's why you aren't getting too many comments, because you really covered the territory. And,
awesome.
I missed several of the EDFC meetings, I'm sorry to say, but that was helpful for me to get caught up as well. And we are meeting tomorrow afternoon, so.
Absolutely.
And that's open to the public.
Yep. Thank you so much. Really
thank you very much. Excellent.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Okay. All right. Moving on, our next item would normally be ordinances, and we don't have any new ordinances to bring up. We have basically one item on consent calendar. There weren't any new minutes to approve. but the one item is, I'm just going to paraphrase it. It's an amendment and novation agreement to examine sales and use taxes. And I could read that more specifically, but then I have to open this thing up here. Let me just do that. Okay. It is amendment novation agreement and authorization to examine sales and use tax records from the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration. Who is it authorizing to do this examination? Can someone answer that?
It is the firm that the city has retained since 1996. They have gone through various naming or been bought out. So right now it's Avenue Community Services.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that's the only item on our consent calendar. Does anybody wish to pull that, or shall we have a motion on the consent calendar, and then I'll open if there's any public comment. Jerry?
I just had a question, and I believe it's probably a typo, but under summary, something. Oh, I think I missed it, so that's okay.
Gary, are you talking about Delano?
Yeah,
Yeah, or Delano?
yeah.
Is that just a typo, Brian or Kathy, in paragraph 2 of the staff report on this item? It says the consultant examines and monitors Delano's sales tax records to ensure appropriate tax. It should be Mendocino's or Willits, right?
Oh. It was one of those cut and paste things where, okay, it's Delano is the town in the valley.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you're right.
Yeah, basically this document had several, it was a pre-prepared document meant for all their clients, and we missed that one.
Okay, so that correction will be made. Anybody want to make a motion to approve this, Ms. Greta?
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Greta Connie and seconded by Jerry Gonzalez. Any other questions from council members? I guess once we have a motion. Any comment from the public? And if not, Kathy will do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Connie,
Yes.
Stransky,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mayor Strong.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
So
Thank
just
you.
for additional clarification, and I appreciate pointing that out, the actual resolution does not have any of those references. So it's only in the agenda summary that was introducing the item.
And I missed that one, but thank you.
Shame on you.
I usually catch things like that at my
Oh, we
editorial
go.
background. And I make them too. I make mistakes because, I used to do multiple different communities, environmental and economic reports, and we would just cut and paste, and sometimes we'd forget to put the right jurisdiction name in there. Okay, going on. We do not have any additional monthly reports. That's usually at our second meeting of each month, which we love to have, but we don't have them this time. And so now we are on item 7. And again, we are not meeting as the Planning Commission or the successor agency, so we don't have any item on that agenda. And now we're at City Manager's reports and recommendations. And I'll turn it over to Brian.
So the first item, which is item 8A, is a request to retain RGS Regional Government Services. Basically, they're a consulting firm that has a wide selection of services that they provide to municipalities when there's a deficit in their organization. relating to a specific task or description or a service. And this is relating to our finance director position in the finance department. So we're kind of in this gap right now that I just was having a couple of conversations with Andy Heath. He has relocated to Tennessee. He has his home office set up. He will be basically re-engaging city and city staff and moving ahead with the budget over the next couple of weeks. But once again, he's a little further afield now. He's in Tennessee. We had some additional assistance provided, and that got us over a little bit of a period here in the last several weeks. But RGS will come in, and they have a very defined scope that was presented and discussed that is relating to our needs in payroll. We have some issues with payroll and specifically PERS, accounting and reporting, and then our larger financial. And I will also mention subsequently here we're moving ahead with our finance director recruitment, and that we have a viable candidate that we would like to schedule an interview. And if that person works out, we're looking at several, maybe a month or 2, 3 out so we can get that person in here. So this is kind of a stopgap measure to provide the local assistance that Andy needs, as well as looking at kind of doing an assessment where we are with payroll and kind of reboot that and get that going in the right direction. So I do know the city had retained RGS in the past. We were very careful on this go around to be specific on the scope and the intent and the exit clauses before it kind of went on a little further than necessary. Maybe, I don't know. But this one has a very distinct time frame, as well as measures to continue month by month to the December 31st of this year.
It was not in the notice of the meeting, but I think it's important that it mentions that it's an up to 25,000 authorization, a maximum of up to 25,000. And it should capped at
25,000, and that's kind of more than we estimated at over 3-4 months of services. The original contract would just terminate September 31st, and then we can case by month see where we are with our needs and the services they're providing.
Okay. So any questions from council members to clarify this proposal, and then we'll open up a public hearing on that? I'm not hearing any comments from our council members. Any public comment? Most of our public is our staff members. Okay, bring it back up here to council. Would anyone like to make a motion on this item, or, yeah, Jerry?
I would like to move staff recommendations.
And anyone want a second? Greta?
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. And again, just for the record, I think it's important to have the monetary amounts when we're authorizing something, have it be in the actual agenda. But all right, I think we will go to a roll call vote, Kathy.
Council members Gonzalez,
Yes.
Tawny,
Yes.
Stransky,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mayor Strong.
Yes. Okay, and rest of any other city manager reports that you'd like to add, Brian?
Two items. One of them is tagging on to the comments we heard from EDFC. We received from Muni Services earlier this week our breakdown of our first quarter tax activity, or basically our commercial sales tax receipt activity. The community is doing well. We're holding our own by the numbers. We have not experienced any great swings or fluctuations due to COVID. Some other communities are kind of on a larger upswing or a projection because they hit a lower point than we did. So I think that is good news, and that is beneficial for, once again, putting together our budget. We have solid numbers that we can utilize.
Is that, Brian,
yes.
is that first quarter calendar year?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the first 3 months of 2021. So there was some interest there. We were on the verge of what was happening with COVID. But our numbers are strong. There was a lot of good activity. Ultimately, I think we should acknowledge that the commercial footprint, the retail footprint of the city of Willits is strong. There's a lot of local interest. We do provide a good number of services and retail opportunities for the greater hinterland of northern or interior Mendocino County. So I think that's something that we should build and work on. Okay, yes, sales pitch there. Now going to more of an agenda note here, and I do appreciate the interest of the council and the consideration to allow us to continue in these virtual platforms. We all know, both from a staff perspective and elected officials, it's not ideal, but the numbers that are out there are truly worrisome. The case numbers that the counties experience, and Jerry, I'm sure you can comment as well as Lake County. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. The numbers are keep spiking, and it's really the unvaccinated individuals. And once again, the plea here is please vaccinate. It's something for the community. We're going to do it for fellow employees and family members. It's real important. I think we can't keep continuing with these numbers and going into fall, winter. Something's going to happen there. So I just want to put those numbers out there, and the comments we heard from Dr. Foreign in his perspective of what's happening. We're still going to allow the open or public events outdoors. There's some concerns about some additional mitigation measures that can be implemented, but for right now, those events can continue. If you're entering City Hall, we are open for service, but we are asking to have the public wear masks, and we have implemented that policy among staff as well. So we have that. And finally, on a good note, I just want to welcome Nigel Sweeney. He is our newest Public Works employee, and met him earlier this week, and he seems to be a welcome addition to the team, and he's fitting in. So I just want to call out that individual. So that's what I have, and thank you.
All right, I want to just add that this Friday from 2 to 5 p.m. there is COVID testing for free for the public. I don't think you require any kind of reservation. You can just walk into City Hall Friday between 2 and 5 p.m. And if you are not yet vaccinated, there's a vaccination at the Ukiah Fairgrounds on Friday from 9 to 1, and again from 2 to 5, and also at the Ukiah Concert in the Park on Sunday from 5 to 8 p.m. So anybody that isn't yet vaccinated, also if if you're not vaccinated and you're in Willits and don't want to go to Ukiah, check with our local clinics, because I think some of them might be able to respond on vaccinations. But the testing is...
One point of quick correction. If you are going to utilize the testing opportunity here at the City Hall on Friday, please use the East stores. That's what's going to be available to the public.
Okay. The parking lot and door.
Yeah.
Okay.
Justice Center.
And yes, Jerry?
Brian, has there been talk on the county level now that things are amping up? They were starting to kind of scale back the testing offerings in the county. Are they talking about expanding that again, or any word on that, or just their hours are what they are?
That is a good point, Jerry. They would like to see more testing. I think we're at this tipping point where individuals who are committed to continuing testing regimes or programs and vaccinations have accomplished or, have committed to it. Now we're looking at the numbers of the individuals who have not follow through with testing and getting vaccinated. So I think the county wants to be as accommodating as possible and provide as many opportunities. And we may be looking at the fall to do additional or ramping up of testing and some vaccinations, depending on where these numbers are going to land.
Greta?
Brian, it seems like several months back, Dr. Corin was saying that vaccinated individuals did not need to be testing unless they were feeling symptomatic, but he said that there was no point in vaccinated individuals getting tested. And I've now gotten several questions from members of the community who are vaccinated, but they're wondering, because this Delta variant seems so everywhere and frankly scary, should they start testing again, just like for surveillance testing? So I'm wondering if the next time you talk to Dr. Corin, if you can ask that or if he's already addressed that.
He has addressed that in a roundabout way. He has acknowledged that, once again, it's a personal preference. If you are vaccinated, if you want to enter into a testing regime or a testing protocol for your own sense of well-being, then go ahead and do it. He would encourage that.
I would also say that even if you're vaccinated, if you've been around other people and you don't know whether there's unvaccinated people that you've been in close quarters, I would say it's a really good idea to get tested, because the vaccinated folks can contract the virus and can be spreading it without even having any symptoms. So testing is free and it's really easy, and if there's any chance that you've been around groups of people that you aren't sure of, or that where people weren't masking or whatever, better safe than sorry. That's my personal approach to it anyway, but everybody has to make their own decisions. Okay.
So, Mayor and Council, that's what I have for tonight.
Thank you. Could you also maybe just announce that we are going to have special meetings coming up on the capital improvements project budget and on the water sales from the park well?
So basically we're going to have we'd like to hold it in person, both sessions. Right now that is what the game plan, and that's what we would like to do, but once again, we don't want to put anyone at risk. So the first meeting would be looking at the draft CIP, capital improvements plan, that staff has been working on diligently for the last several months, and this is a good window, it's being in the final throes of completion, to get it before the council, to walk you through that document. We think it's a good stepping stone as we move towards budget prep and budget completion. I guess I'm a little, and I will look at Kathy here. When did we agree the CIP meeting? Is that the 23rd?
August 23rd from 1 to 3.
Okay. So that would be open to the public. If members of the public want to attend that session, please wear a mask and social distance. So the other public forum we're looking to schedule, or it is scheduled for September 1. It is a public forum, as noted, to receive comments and address concerns by the residents or the general public regarding bulk water sales and the water infrastructure that the city currently has, and the impacts that the drought has on the city. And so that is being put together for September 1 here at City Hall. We're probably going to have that at the community center so we can accommodate more in a more spatial arrangement and allow people to distance themselves. Agendas will be forthcoming, and if any questions, please contact City Hall.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So moving along, we have the department recommendations and action items, and those are first one, 9A, discussion possible action approving purchase and installation of a replacement inverter at the water treatment plant solar array for a total cost of $16,303.34. Presenting staff member is Andrea Trincado Slater. Andrea?
Hi, yes, this is Andrea Trincado Slater, project manager. I'm presenting a request to approve the purchase and installation of a replacement inverter at the water treatment plant solar array. When the city purchased the array last August, the inverter was identified as a potential problem during our investigation of the system prior to purchase. As part of the purchase, the city negotiated a credit of $20,000 towards an anticipated replacement of that inverter. And over the last year, the inverter has had a couple of problems, nothing too major, but we're currently faced with a board replacement that will cost roughly $7,800. And then we have no guarantee that will be it for a while. I mean, another part could break on it in the coming year. So it seems more cost effective at this stage to replace the inverter. The cost of the replacement is $16,303.34. And there are enough funds budgeted in the water fund to pay for the replacement. The replacement would come with a 5-year warranty, so any parts that break in that 5 years would be covered by that warranty. And with that, I'd just like to see if you guys have any questions.
Okay, let's get back to the screen here. Any questions from council members? Greta.
It's not a question, but I just wanted to say that if we gave awards to our favorite staff reports, I would give this one my highest grade. I really liked hearing, Andrea, about how the electrical expenses have been reduced since the buyout and how we're on track to recapture the expense within 5 years. You worked so hard on that buyout deal, and it's just very exciting in a nerdy way to see it working just the way you intended it to. So I really appreciated that. Good job.
I agree. Jerry, did I see?
Yeah, I just want, you guys be doing all the work yourselves, or contractors involved? Just curious.
No, we have actually a contract with a consultant that provides O&M services. The contract costs about $6,000 a year. So they'll be performing the work.
Okay, that was the issue.
That's great. Any other questions from council members? Any comments or questions from the public on this item? And seeing and hearing none, I will accept
I
a
would
motion.
like to move staff recommendations and echo.
Thanks, Jerry. Who would like to second? Greta. Since Jerry and Greta are the only two council members who I can actually see, and they're stepping to the plate. Thank you so much. Okay, Kathy, do a roll call, please.
Thank you. Council members Gonzalez,
Yes.
Connie,
Yes.
Stransky,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mayor Strong.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that was great. Yeah, it's really nice to see that paying off, and the upkeep is part of the expenses that are included in that. That's great. So item B, discussion possible action approving the professional services contracts with multiple firms for on-call engineering services for a cumulative total over a 3-year period of $900,000. And we have again, Andrea and Jeremy are presenters.
Yeah, so this is Jeremy. So we've relied on outside consulting services since I've been here and long before I've been here, just to supplement our work. And right now we probably rely on it more than we have at any point that I've been here. But to acquire these services, we've gone through the city's procurement process, which is totally fine. But in order to get these services reimbursed for, say, state-funded or federally funded projects, we have to follow this very specific Caltrans procurement process, which is what we've done with this RFQ. It's called the two-step RFQ process. It is a bit more cumbersome, might be a bit more work for staff to manage, but we think ultimately it's going to be worth it to get these services reimbursed. And we're really hoping maybe after a year or so, we'll kind of get into a rhythm and it won't be too cumbersome. We felt we had 5 responses. All local firms that we've worked with, we felt like they all brought something to the table that we would utilize within the next 3 years. So, we'd like to contract with all of them. The amounts of their contracts may need to be adjusted because we're sort of just guessing at what services they're going to provide over 3 years right now. But we can write that into the contract that we have some leeway, and then over a certain amount we can come to council to adjust it. But we do recommend contracting with all 5 firms, and that's basically it. Unless you have questions about the process, or unless Andrea wants to add.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would really add to what Jeremy said is that we looked at the average of our most recent years of our engineering services that we've contracted out. And so we based the contract size on what we have been already spending on outside services. So I just wanted to explain that so you know what the basis of that number is.
And with these relief grant monies that the city is getting now, a lot of these kinds of contracts could be subject to having to have this protocol. So I think that was a very smart thing to go ahead and do, even though it's a little cumbersome. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I'm sorry, just to add another little detail, we only really are required to go through this two-step, to go through the Caltrans process if we're going after state funding. We'll have a little more flexibility, and it probably will be a little less work if it's just in-house work that we're paying for. So we'll be able to have a little more leeway to either choose a consultant or decide to go through an RFP process if we feel like we want to do that.
So thank you. Greta, I saw Greta's hand.
Andrea and Jeremy, I'm wondering, is there a benefit to doing this for a 3-year term rather than just doing a year at a time or even a 2-year term?
Yeah, it was a lot of work to put together and put out, like a lot. It took a long time to put it together, and we're gonna have to adjust to this. Like I said, probably for the first year, but after a few years, it should get pretty streamlined. And honestly, these are the firms that we kind of work with the most anyway. We don't use a ton of other people, so I don't see much disadvantage to going to a shorter term or to having a longer term.
And frankly, we've had these annual contracts, and a year is up before we know it, and we're going through the process again, and it just kind of becomes another thing we have to do to make sure that the contract's renewed. And I think that the 3-year was a sort of happy medium between the annual contract, and Caltrans actually allowed up to 5 years. So basically, this is a 3-year contract with the ability to extend it if council wants to. So we would bring a 2-year extension back to council for approval.
Thank you.
Hey,
Larry,
go ahead.
Okay, I've had my hand up for a long time. You haven't noticed it. Now, my thing is the qualifications of SHN. I don't know how many people were on the council or on the staff or whatever when we did the wastewater plant, but SHN was the one that made and produced the plans and everything for the wastewater plant. And then by some coincidence, we were forced to have, in my estimation, forced to take that SHN was the inspector for this particular plant. And there was a lot of things wrong with it, and I will admit that this was the first one that SHN has ever did at that particular time. But I'm really not comfortable with having SHN there. I'll just say that right out, and so I'm not going to delay it any longer. I'm just saying that that's the way I feel, and I will not vote for them.
Larry, can I address what you just said? So I think that one of the benefits to having several firms on call is to avoid conflicts like that of, designers inspecting the same project. It gives us more variety to call on different consultants, and so this will give us a lot of flexibility, I think.
We actually have a pretty good, or actually we have a very good relationship with SHN right now. They're probably the they're the most qualified local surveying firm for sure. They've been here forever. They've surveyed the whole town. And they've provided some really good services, some geotech stuff. Their materials testing's great. I know that I was here for the plant and all the headaches there, but really the last several years working with them, we've enjoyed working with them. They rank very high on, multiple people scored this, and they were the second highest, pretty close to Laco. They had a very good set of qualifications. So we're pretty comfortable with them. But I do understand,
I thank Jeremy for that, but I just don't feel safe with them. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Other comments or questions from council members? Jerry?
I just kind of wanted to jump in with what Jeremy said, that having the ability to choose, some of these firms are pretty good in their respective fields. Not sure I would use them for everything in one firm, but having the ability to pluck what they want when they need it. And obviously I think engineering seems to have got the work of Larry, what he doesn't like, but gives them the opportunity. Like, I would support this because they do have the variety, and it is a free contract.
Yeah, we feel like we got a very good mix of firms with a good mix of strengths.
Yeah, not all of them are equally qualified on all areas of expertise, but you've got enough variety there, and they do represent a lot of different areas. Sabrina, I can't see a hand raised, and so better call on you if you have any questions or comments.
I'll pipe in if I have any questions. We're using the go-to meeting, and I don't have a stable enough connection to turn on video, but I'm very much present.
Okay, thank you. And Larry, in the future, just you do have to speak up because hand raised. I don't have a picture here. I cannot see a hand being
Can't
raised.
stand that. I was just kidding you.
Okay. All right. And Greta has her hand up.
I just wanted to say that, what I really appreciate about this this item is, to me, it shows fiscal responsibility. I like that you're going to this process, even though it might be more cumbersome, because of the potential that we'll be able to get reimbursed for some of the projects down the road. And just like the last project, I think that it shows a real concern for taxpayer dollars, and I appreciate that very much coming from the engineering department, especially because so many of your projects are the highest ticket items that the city does. So knowing that you all are looking out for the dollars is very reassuring as a council member, and I appreciate it.
Thanks. We actually do try to be very cautious and mindful of that because, we notice all of our projects are very expensive compared to everybody else. Yeah, it matters. So.
It's an occupational hazard. Okay. Anybody from the public want to comment on this item, this rather large budgeting item over a 3-year period with 5 different firms? And I'm not hearing any, and therefore I will accept a motion.
Ms. Sabrina, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, approve staff recommendation. And Jerry?
I'll second.
All right, moved and seconded. Kathy, would you like to please do roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yes.
Connie.
Yes.
Stransky.
No.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mayor Strong.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. So next item, we don't have, there are no department monthly reports unless any department heads here want to alert us to anything at this time, but otherwise that's usually on our second meeting of the month. City Council member announcements and communications and reports. That would include, any agencies that you represent city on that you might want to bring up.
This one is up.
Okay, let's one at a time. I see some, Jerry, go ahead.
I just wanted to point out I'll be attending the regional meeting for League of Cities. It was going to be in Eureka, and I had planned to drive up there, but because of the numbers going up there, they're going to Zoom now. Attending by Zoom, my office.
Okay, and Sabrina, did you have something? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask what order do you want us to pipe in? Arts Committee has a meeting on August 27th. It's a Friday morning at 9 a.m. We'll be meeting at City Hall for those who are interested in joining us for the Arts Committee meeting. And then for MTA, had lots of internal management type things going on, but probably the most impactful thing to the community is that we're very concerned about our ability to hire more drivers. And with the spike in COVID, that's causing even more reason for concern as drivers call in. And what may ultimately end up happening, whether it be in Willits, Ukiah, or along the coast, is rides may potentially be temporarily suspended due to an inability to staff. So that's very concerning. We're doing everything we can to mitigate it, but a shortage of staff is a serious concern for this agency.
Thank you, Sabrina. Larry, do you have any report?
I do not.
Okay, Greta?
Nothing from the last 2 weeks. MCOG will be meeting next Monday.
Okay. I can just reiterate that EDFC will be meeting tomorrow afternoon at 2 by Zoom. And then the following Thursday, the 19th, the Solid Waste Management Authority will be meeting at 10 in the morning, again by Zoom. And I also wanted to mention, I believe in John Haschek's recent monthly report that the Measure B committee, he will be needing to replace Jed Diamond as the 3rd district representative to the Measure B committee, in case anybody is interested in putting their name forward on that. Mental health Measure B funds. I think that's it. Oh, and then he's also looking for someone to be part of the Citizens Advisory on redistricting the supervisorial districts based on the census. They have to have roughly equal numbers of people in each district, and that probably means moving some of the lines around. So if someone's interested in that, they should contact John Haschek. And I can give you his phone number, 972-4214. Okay. We're now coming to item 12, good and welfare. I do want to mention that there's been 2 deaths of people who've been very beloved and important in our community recently. Rich Padula and why is her name suddenly going away? Sally Gerhardt died recently in the last couple of weeks, and the community will definitely miss those people. They were in very different ways, very involved in the community. Anybody else have a good and welfare they'd like to bring in?
Yeah, just a reminder that public school starts on August 24th. Don't forget, if you see the yellow bus with the lights flashing and stop sign out, please stop. And be aware that there will be heavy traffic in the morning as school starts back up again. And I think that's it.
And Jerry?
I'm going to say along those lines, so watch out for the kids at the crosswalks as they walk to high school, Bechtel. Not too many walking younger. Wow.
Yeah. Okay. If there are no more good and welfares, we will adjourn the open part of this meeting at 7:45 roughly. And in 5 minutes, let's convene the closed session, which is a conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government 927, 26, with our negotiators Patrick Clark, Brian Bender, and Karen Stevenson, and with both employee organizations. So that will be in 5 minutes at 10 to 8 for the council members in closed session. All right. Thank you, everybody.